Hey guys, are you getting tired of the 15 discontinued fragrances worth finding and buying videos? I've got a sixth one here for you today, and I've got 15 more discontinued fragrances or hard to find fragrances that are worth looking into and finding and getting. Got a couple of bonuses as well, so if you're curious to learn about these fragrances, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, this is the sixth in a series of many videos I've done. And before I started this particular series, I had done various other videos throughout the channel on discontinued fragrances. But this is kind of a themed video, and every single video is similar in this series of 6 videos. So if you're into the idea of finding discontinued fragrances, perhaps it would be a great series for you to go and catch and watch. But I've got 15 fragrances here, men's, women's, and unisex fragrances. Although in this particular video I think there's maybe just 1 or 2 women's fragrances. The rest are either men's or unisex fragrances. Before I start the list of fragrances, let me know of a fragrance that you love but it's discontinued, that you think it's worth finding and buying. Put a comment down so I can find out. So let's go ahead and get started with the first one, going to the house of MUGLER. It's Pure HAVANE. So MUGLER took over L'Oreal took over MUGLER in the early 2020, just before the pandemic started. The rumors were circulating at the end of the 2019. So they haven't really done anything with men's fragrances yet, and I recently found out that I'm on MUGLER's newsletter, and they mentioned that MUGLER's Amen is an online exclusive. So there aren't any Amen fragrances selling anywhere except if you can find them at the discounters, and Pure HAVANE is really difficult to find. I was thinking they might launch the eau de parfum versions of these fragrances, but they haven't really done it. I personally think what they're going to do is launch something very mass, something brand spanking new under L'Oreal. That's why I feel like MUGLER's Amen is an online exclusive here in the States. I don't know how it is back there. But this is a honey, tobacco, vanilla, cacao, patchouli, amber, Styrax, Labdanum fragrance. It's super delicious. It's really hard to find now. I've got 2 or 3 backup bottles. I'll just store them away in the dark, cool, dark, dry space. And this is how much I have left here in this particular bottle. In fact, I actually found 2 bottles during the pandemic when it was really difficult to find these fragrances. So thankfully I did find those because it's one of my favorites in the collection, but sad it's not available. If you can find it, get it, because I think it's one of the best designer fragrances, or used to be. Next, going to the house of Le COUVENT de MINIMES. This is Eau de Missions, or Cologne of the Missions. Do you guys know this one? This was so popular when I first started reviewing fragrances back in 2012. 10 years ago on a previous channel. This actually I had bought on Amazon, this large bottle, and I've gone through this much of it, as you can see. And I just smelled this. I have it stored away with all my discontinued fragrances. It still smells really great. It was a great alternative to Spirituous Double Vanille from the House of Guerlain, but sadly it got discontinued. The collection kind of completely wiped away. They rebranded and relaunched new fragrances, and this one was not available anymore. I don't know if it's still available online. It's probably really difficult, but I think I paid about 65 bucks for this. I remember the price because it was fairly early on, like 2013 or 2014, when I started wearing this one. But this is all about vanilla, benzoin, myrrh, Virginia cedar, Centella Asiatica, green tea, flower. These are the notes I took off of the databases online, so I don't know what the actual notes are, especially since these are no longer selling, so I can't go to a brand's website and get the official notes. But it's a really great fragrance. This was really popular for a long time. A very hyped fragrance by a lot of people, but sadly it's gone now. Let me know if you've been a fan of this one. This is Cologne of the Missions, or it's Le COUVENT de MINIMES, that's a brand. Eau de Missions Cologne is what I would say is another name for it. So the next fragrance, going to the house of CARTIER. So let's just recap. Pure HAVANE is a male-targeted release. I believe a lot of women wore that because it's quite gourmand. The second fragrance is a unisex fragrance, Le COUVENT de MINIMES Cologne of the Missions. And then finally, we've got another male fragrance. This is Cartier Declaration Cologne. Man, I don't know if you guys caught my haul video I did of an estate sale, and this was one of the fragrances in there, and I'm super impressed at the quality of this, because I'm always cautious about buying fragrances without even actually testing them, especially if they're freshies like this, and this one smells super fantastic still. It's the long-standing Declaration series of fragrances from Cartier. It's been around since 1996 or 97, originally created by Jean-Claude Helena. This one I believe is created by Mathilde Laurent, the perfumer that's in-house at Cartier for a while now. This is a zingy version of the Cartier Declaration. It's ginger, bergamot, orange, mandarin, spices, cardamom, coriander, vetiver, and cedar, along with jasmine. So they just recently launched a green version of that fragrance, and I'm drawing a blank with the name. I featured in multiple videos. That one focused more on petitgrain, so it's kind of a green bitter one, but this one really is a nice gingery freshness. Definitely has a bit of a zing and bite to it, a little spice. So it's Declaration Cologne from the house of Cartier. If you can find that, I recommend it. So moving on to the fourth fragrance I'm going to talk to you about today, going to the house of DIPTYQUE. DIPTYQUE had a luxury collection of fragrances which included Benzoin Bohème and another one like this one, OPONE, and then there were a few other fragrances that I really liked, but sadly I think they weren't really popular, and everything got discontinued except for the one that I hype a lot, Benzoin Bohème. And a lot of you thought that Benzoin Bohème was discontinued because you couldn't find it in stores, but it's not discontinued. It is kind of coming back. And recently, my associates at DIPTYQUE stores told me it's back in limited quantities. So if you're on the hunt for that one, go get it. Because I do agree that's a great fragrance. But OPONE, on the other hand, comes in a beautiful cloth bag. And then, of course, the bottles for these fragrances are just gorgeous. As you can see, it's really beautiful detailing. I really love these. They're quite pricey. And this one was all about Turkish rose. It's a very rosy fragrance, but it also has spices. It's got saffron in it, so it does have a leathery touch. It's got cumin in it and additional spices. So it's got Guaiac wood in addition to all those notes as well. So it's kind of a creamy woody fragrance, but with lots of rose. And then of course the saffron adds that leatheriness. The spices gives it a kick. I believe there's a bit of a gingery spice in here. Maybe some light cinnamon and nutmeg as well. And of course the cumin. It's a great scent and I recommend it, but I don't think you'll be able to find it easily nowadays. The only one that I still see online, and I'm always forgetting the name of that one, is the one with the orange theme, like this. Not the Benzoin Bohème, which is still around because that was more yellow, I believe. There's one with that orange square cap. That one you can still get, but if you can find OPONE, it's a great spicy, you know, rose fragrance that's definitely worth it. So this next one is a fun one, but sadly it got discontinued early on in my, you know, life of doing reviews. Early on, I bought this fragrance as a fun fragrance. It's a gourmand for men. It's from the house of AQUOLINA. It's Blue Sugar, this one right here. So this got discontinued around 2014, 2015, and I still have my bottle from like 2013. I actually bought this for about 20 bucks. It was very, very inexpensive, and I like this one for what it is and for the price. You get this kind of a fun, playful gourmand fragrance for men, but I feel like women can totally pull it off. I think Pink Sugar still exists, which is feminine targeted, but Blue Sugar for me is also very unisex. It's cotton candy with licorice, star anise, tonka beans, patchouli, cedar, coriander, mandarin orange, bergamot. It's a fun, very, very fun fragrance, very gourmand. I like that this gourmand, along with the cotton candy, which makes it very sugary, has that contrast of licorice and star anise, gives it kind of a green light booziness, but of course it's got the citruses and of course some spice. It was a really fun fragrance to have, and this is what I have left. I've stored it away, not using it, but if you can find that, definitely get it. Next, going to the house of Imaginary Authors. This is An Air of Despair. So this was not necessarily a fully launched fragrance. I believe it was launched as a limited edition, and what happened was this evolved into I believe his fragrance called Slow Explosions. So this to me is a saffron, cedar, and musk combo. A bit simplistic, really sexy, it's very musky, and of course it has these leathery undertones because saffron has those leathery undertones. So here it's just a really beautiful fragrance, really wonderful. So what happened, I believe, was this evolved, as I said, to Slow Explosions, and Slow Explosions has the rose. So just imagine this with rose, and just imagine Slow overflow explosions with the rose removed, and this is kind of what you get. But this is a really, really great fragrance. I hope he brings it back because I like its simplicity and also its sexiness. It's that saffron, the leatheriness. It's the leather accord that you get from saffron. This is not animalic, but it just kind of contributes to the sexiness of the musk in here. A great scent. If you can get it, get it. An Air of Despair from Imaginary Authors. He's got a new fragrance coming out, by the way. Stay tuned for a video on that very soon. Next up, going to the house of, okay, this is not an easy house to talk about. It was a project that I actually ended up reviewing the 3 fragrances that launched in this project. It was called Project Renegades. 3 different fragrances, one created by Geza Schoen, which is this. Sadly though, these all came with magnets, and I don't know where my magnets are. I'm so disappointed. We'll flash a photo with the magnet on it. But this is Geza Schoen. You know Geza Schoen is the guy behind Eccentric Molecules, and this was his project. But we had Geza Schoen, which was my favorite, and it has notes of ISOE Super, Hedione, lemons, juniper, pink pepper, bergamot, cassis, fir, lime, cedar, incense, and castoreum. It was a great fragrance. It was great to wear in the heat. It was fresh. It was woody. It's spicy, a bit floral, and definitely masculine leaning. And the 2 other fragrances in this collection, let me show you. One of them was Mark Buxton. And then we also had Bertrand Duchaffoul. So these 3 were launched, and I don't know what happened to it. I don't think they're around, but if you can find them, get them. I think they'll be collector's items, and of course, as I said, the magnets are somewhere. I gotta go dig them up, but great fragrances. I think they're definitely worth having. And of course, you've seen the bottles for Eccentric Molecules, and these kind of had similar bottles because I believe it was mostly Geza's project, and of course he got 2 other perfumers to create fragrances. If anybody knows these fragrances, do let me know. Put a comment down below so I can find out. And you can go catch my review for this, but it's quite old. I believe it's from 2016, so anyway, I'll just tell you that. But anyway, check these out, Project Renegades. Alright, next up, going to the house of commodity fragrances, it's Tonka. I really love Tonka because it reminds me of Fève Délicieuse from the house of Dior. Of course, that was one of my favorite fragrances. It still is. And this one was a less expensive alternative for that fragrance, but sadly it got discontinued. I don't know what the decision was or why it got discontinued, because I feel like it was pretty popular. It was similar to Fève Délicieuse, as I said, but not identical. But it features notes of Tonka beans, almonds, benzoin, cardamom, sandalwood, Peru balsam, magnolia, lotus flower, and artemisia. So it had ambery touches in the dry down, but it's very, very nutty, bitter, almonds, and of course very ambery, spicy, woody as well. Sad it's gone. Maybe they'll bring it back, because I think they're bringing back things here and there, commodity is, and maybe they'll bring this one back. But I have this much bottle, as you can see. When they did their clearance sale, which I took advantage of, they had already run out of this one, sadly. But anyway, Tonka by Commodity. Let me know if you're a fan of it. Next, going to the house of Nishane. This is a kind of a technicality. I see this fragrance on their website, but no retailers outside of Nishane are selling it. I don't know if you have access to it. And I also cannot find my actual bottle, which is actually really damaged. It was one of my very, very first bottles of Nishane fragrances that I had, and it had a lot of leakage on it. So I can't find that, but I have my backup bottle, Spice Bazaar. One of the best spicy fragrances. Absolutely love it. And if you're a fan of cumin, this is definitely your jam. You definitely dig into it because it's a cumin bomb. But what I like about this one, it's got cumin, lots of it, with this really overwhelming yuzu, juicy, tart, bitter, and spicy, zingy yuzu note. They complement one another, the cumin and the yuzu, and then of course the citrus that the yuzu has just really does magic with this particular fragrance. So it's kind of like a thick citrus experience here with that really overwhelming cumin note. But there's also the addition of black pepper here. There's cedar, there's ginger, juniper, rosemary, saffron, and cinnamon. It's a spice bazaar. It's a spice bomb, a real spice bomb. Fantastic fragrance. This is my backup. Should I open it? Oh man, I love this stuff so much. It was one of my favorite fragrances from Nishane. I still see it on their website, as I said, but I don't see it anywhere else. Like their distributor here in the USA doesn't have this, so I don't know what the status is. Go check it out. But moving on to the house of Bottega Veneta. It's Olivo, Ex Olivo, this one. So in this collection, Ex Olivo was my favorite fragrances. In fact, Dahlia was here one day early on before the pandemic and she smelled this. She ended up loving it. And she ended up buying a bottle as well. It's a great fragrance, but the whole entire collection, the Parco Palladiano collection from Bottega Veneta, got discontinued. And in fact, I did a video about it. Some folks got really ticked off that I did that video. And even somebody from Coty in the USA reached out and said the collection is not discontinued. Whereas I'd go to the Bottega Veneta boutique here and they tell me it's discontinued. I got all these messages from the brand that said discontinued. It is finally discontinued. So I recently received a message from someone saying, do you know of an alternative of Loro, or where can I find a bottle of it? I think there's still bottles out there. Get it if you can. But again, my favorite is Ex Olivo. I do like Loro as well, which is a floral focused fragrance. But what I like about this one is the green olive accord in here. I never really... I'm obsessed with olives. I eat them all the time, but I don't really have any olive fragrances, and that's what I liked about this one. To me, it's green notes, woods, green olive accord, and it's a super fantastic fresh green bitter, you know, invigorating kind of a fragrance. And that whole olive accord in here really did magic for me, and I really love it. So Bottega Veneta, Olivo, if you can find a bottle, get it. I did look it up. There's still bottles out there, so you can probably get it, but I think prices are going up, so hurry if you need a bottle of that. Next, going to the house of Estee Lauder. It's Amber Mystique, this one right here. Amber Mystique, and I believe they also have a Wood Mystique from this collection. Amber was the one that was really solid, really I loved, and so this is a bottle that's almost kind of empty, and I recently tracked down another one. As you can see, it's closed, and I have it as a backup. But what I liked about Amber Mystique was just that whole Middle Eastern style amber oud combo. It's got amber and oud incense raspberry with Bulgarian rose and Taif rose, blackcurrant, labdanum, sandalwood, and patchouli. It's a super intense fragrance, really a wonderful offering from this house, and a job well done for somebody or a brand like Estee Lauder. But sadly, it's discontinued. I think there's still bottles out there. You can find it, but get yourself a bottle, because I think this is one of the best. I would categorize Estee Lauder as a designer amber fragrances. So Amber Mystique from the house of Estee Lauder. Do get that fragrance. It's really great. Alright, I would credit this next fragrance as one of the fragrances that really got me to start enjoying aquatic or marine fragrances. Going to the house of Calvin Klein, it's CK2. This one here, and then this one here. I should find the box for this and put it back in the box for safekeeping. But CK2 is an ozonic marine fragrance that I started falling in love with, and now I really love it a lot. I was wearing it to the gym for quite a bit because I felt like it was that kind of a fragrance you can pull off at the gym, because it has a prominent violet leaves note. It's got that kind of crisp, fresh, juicy, wet, drippy, appley kind of cucumbery, kind of drippy touch here. But it's a violet leaves, pebble accord, wasabi, hedione, orris, mandarin orange, vetiver, white musk, incense, pear, peony, and sandalwood. You know, I don't think this really did well for Calvin Klein. CK1 is still around, CK2 is not. It should not be, at least I think, but you might be able to find bottles of this online still. Get it? And if you like the marine, aquatic, ozonic type fragrances, minerally fragrances, definitely try CK2. I think it's worth it. Next, going to a house that no one ever talks about. This is Esteban from Paris. I don't know if this brand is from Paris though. I should take that back. I got this from Paris. It's called Black Tonka, and it is a really delicious tonka bean fragrance. Sadly, I don't know how to open this thing up. Here it is. I've worn it a couple times, and then I kind of put it aside because I felt like this bottle was truly original. Here, I'll show it to you. But Esteban's Black Tonka is super delicious. If you like tonka bean fragrances, track this one down. But it's Black Tonka. I believe the brand has a tonka bean fragrance in general, but the Black Tonka was the one that really did it for me. But it has notes of tonka beans, cinnamon, dried fruits. There's those dried fruits again. Pink pepper, sandalwood, vetiver, patchouli, bergamot, and ginger. I like the combination of tonka beans with the spiciness of the cinnamon. Gives you kind of a very warm feeling, and then the dried fruits, kind of like chunky, kind of dense touch with the fruitiness, and of course it has that kind of autumn vibe. This is a great fragrance. If you can find a bottle, get it. I highly recommend it. It's Esteban Black Tonka. A wonderful fragrance. And then this one, going back to the early days of my first YouTube channel, this is Molinard Homme 2. So this one, to me, a lot of people know Molinard, they come in those purple bottles, but this collection was one that existed before those purple bottles launched. This collection, I believe, is fairly gone. And this one actually kind of reminded me of a cross between Jean-Paul Gaultier Lamel and Jean-Paul Gaultier Fleur de Mal. So the two together. It's vanilla, lavender, juniper berry, honey, orange, bay leaves, mandarin, artemisia, patchouli, vetiver, and coriander. Homme 2 is a great fragrance. In fact, there was 3 in the collection. There was a green one and a blue one, but Homme 2 was really great. I really loved it, and I had a bottle. It's still pretty full, and it still smells pretty good. I probably bought this like 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, and it still smells fantastic. Molinard Homme 2, definitely a great fragrance, check it out. And then finally, the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Tom Ford's For Men, this one right here. I think this one still exists in Europe. I believe I've seen it on Harrods or Selfridges recently, so you can probably get it, but it's not on Tom Ford's website. It's not anywhere. You might even find it at the discounters. But this one is a great fragrance that was created for men back in the mid-2000s, and it features kind of a cross between fresh notes and dense and heavy bass notes. So it's got lemon leaf oil, ginger, tobacco, mandarin, along with amber, cedar, patchouli, orange blossom, vetiver, oak moss, leather, and bergamot. It's a very complex wear. It's kind of got the ambery touches, but it's got that contrast, as I said. It gets ambery and woody in the dry down. It's a bit spicy and floral, and then you've got the kind of the freshness from the citrusy touches up top as well. Very unique fragrance. Sadly, it's gone, but if you can get it, get it. It's Tom Ford's fragrance called For Men. And that's the last fragrance, the 15th fragrance I'm going to talk to you about until the bonus section. But what are your thoughts on these fragrances? Do you have these fragrances? Have you been wanting them, or do you hate them? Put a comment down so I can find out. If there's a discontinued fragrance that you think it's worth finding and buying, put a comment down and let me know what that is as well. I'm always looking. I've got I got a collection still. I'm probably going to do 1 or 2 more videos until I completely run out, but let me know if you want to see more of these videos. Other than that, guys, thanks so much for watching today. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Alright, we've got 2 fragrances here that are bonus fragrances, and from the same brand and targeted male and female. These are Halston's Amber or Man Amber, Halston Woman Amber. So we've got the male version here I'm going to talk to you about first. Let's see. These came out, I think, around 2010. And this one is in the original kind of looking, male bottle, and it's gold. And sadly, I could only get a 50 ml of this one. I'm going to spray it on and tell you about it a little bit. It's not spraying very well. But this is amber, myrrh, labdanum, oud, cedar, musk, thyme, geranium, and bergamot. Definitely very ambery and oudy. Got that Middle Eastern touch. Really great scent. This one actually, it was not under... Currently, Halston fragrances are under Revlon, and they are really shitty, I should say. But here, it's definitely a very Middle Eastern take on amber with the oud. You can totally pick up the oud, you can totally pick up the spices and aromatics and the musk, and definitely the a bit leather as well, and also oud. Really great scent. If you can get that, really a wonderful offering. So that's Halston Man Amber. And then finally, Halston Woman Amber. I'll show you the bottle. When that Halston miniseries came out on Netflix, I've tracked these fragrances down last year, and just to have on hand. So this is in the feminine bottle. I'm going to spray this on the other hand. So this one to me goes in a different direction for an amber, whereas the male goes into more of a Middle Eastern direction. This one to me goes into more of traditional, kind of like a feminine fragrance with more of a throwback to like the classic original Halston fragrances. So this one, definitely ambery, but also kind of bright. There's this brightness here with the aldehydes note. So we've got amber, olibanum, sandalwood, aldehydes, suede leather, musk, tuberose, rose, Currants Mandarin Orange. Yeah, both of these are really, really great. Even the women. I mean, it's targeted feminine, but it feels like you can totally pull it off if you're a man. It is leaning feminine for sure, but I would call this a unisex offering. It really smells great. Both of them are really, really great. Again, the male is very Middle Eastern oud amber, and the woman's is more kind of a throwback to feminine fragrances that were kind of butch and masculine, if that makes sense. Anyway, these are definitely worth it. If you can find them, get it, because they're really, really great fragrances, but sadly discontinued. Anyway, thanks so much for sticking around for the bonus fragrances, and stay tuned for another video very soon. Bye-bye, guys.